let's go bigger picture with this defense. This question comes from Howard in Los Angeles. Hey, Mary Kay, how much improvement do you think the Browns will experience just from changing defensive coordinators? A ton, some, or none?
You know what? I'm going to say somewhere between some and a ton. I
Yeah,
think it will,
that's a
right?
good way to scale that, I think. Yes.
Right? I think it's going to be a lot. I think it's going to be a lot. We don't know if it's going to be a ton yet. You hope that it will be a ton. They've added so many new guys on defense. In addition to Dalvin Tomlinson, they added two other backup tackles in Tristan Hill and Maurice Hurst, who, in talking to more and more people, these aren't just like camp bodies. Like,
Yeah.
that's not what this is all about. These are guys that they actually think can come in here and possibly become part of this rotation. And if
Yeah.
that can happen, they're going to be ahead of the game. But, they're still going to be playing a 4-3 base. There still will be, similar elements to what they've done before. Myles Garrett will, still be, on the outside in a 4-3 defense, although he might be playing wider in more of in a wide 9 type of fashion. But I think it has the potential to be a lot better because of Jim Schwartz and all the experience that he brings. I mean, my goodness, he's called a defense for 14 seasons. He's won a Super Bowl. He knows what it takes. And again, when I talk to those defensive linemen, not even just the defensive linemen, when I talk to any defenders over there in Philadelphia, they loved playing for him. They really did.
Yeah.
They loved playing for him. So I think it will make a big difference. Not ready to say a ton yet, but I think it will make a big difference.
We actually had some Dalvin Tomlinson specific questions. So let's jump to those right now. A nice kind of transition. So this one's from Bruce Moore in West Palm Beach, Florida. Hey, Mary Kay, do you think the Browns will still need to add a free agent starting left defensive tackle to play alongside Dalvin Tomlinson? And he thanks you for your great coverage.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So you know what? I certainly think that Andrew Berry still has his eyes open for some defensive linemen. I still think they could use another edge, right? Another like 3 or 4 edge. They've got Alex Wright that they could plug in there, but I think you need that 5-sack guy, right? I think that that Obo is going to be expected to be sort of like a 7-sack, 28 pressure guy. But then you kind of need that 5-sack guy. Once again, I've said this so many different times. We've talked about it a lot that they got 3 sacks out of their 2, 3, and 4 edge rushers last year combined. And that can't be this year. They've got to get 12, 13 sacks combined out of those guys, maybe even a little bit more than that. So I do think that Andrew will keep his eyes peeled. He probably talked to some GMs at the owners meetings. That's, something that happens there as you kind of dip your toes into the trade market a little bit more after the first wave of free agency and see what you can get done. So those are a couple places where it would make sense to me. Another defensive tackle and possibly another defensive end.
Yeah, that's like, to me, it's like another defensive end. Because you want that, I think, production to be more closely aligned to what it was in 2021, where they got like 9 sacks, I think it was, out of Jadeveon Clowney behind Miles' 16. And then Tack McKinley was really productive that year before he suffered his Achilles injury and was out for the rest of the year. And it's like they tried to do that last year by bringing Jadeveon Clowney back and by getting Chase Winovich in that Mack Wilson trade. And it just didn't work. Jadeveon was unhappy for most of the year. Chase was hurt for most of the year, and now he's with the Texans. So I do think it's like it's not just one guy and you're done, because you really didn't get that from 2 places last year. So
yeah, I agree with you 100%. So, you can never have too many guys that can rush the passer, especially in Jim Schwartz's defense. I mean, look at what the Philadelphia Eagles were able to do this year. They had 70 sacks. They led the NFL with 70 sacks. They had 4 guys in double digits. The Browns had Miles at 16 and then Taven with 3. I mean, it was preposterous. And of course, it's not just the sacks, but it's the disruption and it's the pressure. And they still didn't have enough of that. So I would be all over the place looking for those kinds of things. And if you can't find it in a trade or free agency, then by all means be looking for more defensive linemen in the draft.
And that's the interesting thing to me, too, to bring it back to Dalvin.